I've been told I make really great meatballs. I don't disagree. They're soft, they're delicious, they're amazing, they're juicy, they're incredible, and they're easy. So why does everyone else make such crappy meatballs? I don't know. Maybe I know something they don't know. I don't know, but if I do, I'm going to tell it to you right now. Meatballs! We're talking meatballs, Italian meatballs, polpette. Yes, that's right. We love them. We just have a hard time making them sometimes. There's a pretty simple way to do it, and I'm going to show you. This is kind of foolproof, and they're delicious and amazing, soft and incredible and flavorful and so good. Okay, so what does it take? It takes onion, garlic, cheese, breadcrumbs, 1 egg, a little bit of milk, a little bit of seasoning, and meat. There you go. We're using pure ground veal from the region. No, I'm just using ground beef. You can mix a little Italian sausage in it if you want. You don't have to. You can put a little red pepper flake in it if you want. Ooh, that's a spicy meatball. Yeah, that's really, really good. I'm just going to show you plain meatballs, and you can adjust. Once you learn this technique, you got it. So this is super fast, super easy. What we have is 1/3 cup of breadcrumbs. These are panko breadcrumbs. You can use 1 slice of bread. That works pretty well. We're going to use a little bit of milk. Half as much milk as that, but not exactly, because the original recipes, if you look back at like the old grandma's recipe from the old country, it says a slice of bread you soak in milk, pick it up, and then squish it until you get all the milk out of it, and then use the bread, discard the milk. That's the way it's supposed to be done. That's the way your grandmother used to do it. That's kind of, no. So, there you go. Breadcrumbs. This is about 2 teaspoons of garlic. Right here, it's minced up real nice. That goes in. We have 1 egg. What's the rule? 1 egg to a pound of meat. We're using 1 pound of meat. Okay, so we're putting the egg. I'm gonna put the egg on the far side because I don't want it mixing with the breadcrumbs just yet. We have about a little bit over a tablespoon of Parmesan here. This is grated Parmesan. You can use the shredded, this is shredded, sorry, not grated. Grated stuff is super fine. This is the shredded stuff, so it's clumpier and it makes wonderful, amazing bits in there. You can use the regular stuff. You can even use the tube stuff, the Kraft green tube stuff. It does actually work for this. The meat we're going to be using is not fancy either, so why get fancy there? Now, basil seasonings. Just going to take 2 basil leaves and do a quick chiffonade. Here, this. Reposition. Boom, there you go. And then just run through again because you want this stuff pretty small. And the reason we're using fresh there is because it is so fragrant. It's amazing. Dried basil has a little different flavor to it. So there. Oregano. My oregano plant died. It's summer. That happens. So I have to use ground. This is actually Greek oregano, but we're going to use probably 1.5 tablespoons, something like that. So it's about equal parts there. Salt and pepper, a little bit of salt. On a ton. Pepper. Okay, there you go. The next big thing that we're going to use, I'm going to get this stuff out of here so you can see what I'm doing. Move this real fast. Okay. This might be one of my secrets. Box grater and an onion. Grating the onion makes a huge difference because you don't need a ton of onion. That is, yeah, it'll work. Okay, I eyeball things. That's part of my problem writing this stuff down. So this works out to be roughly 1/3 cup. I'm just gonna run this through here again because some of these strains are a little long. My box grater has been modified. I opened the holes up so I can make hash browns with it. I'm a weirdo. I go around modifying box graters. People say I'm not normal. Who cares? All right, so just prove a point. How much exactly is here? I'll measure this for you. This is suddenly turning into not so fast. Okay. So this is about a 1/4 cup onion. There you go. That works. That's perfect. Now, I'm going to grab the milk. And I'm back. I got milk. I still have onion in my hand. All right. I'm going to pour this in here. It's half. So half would be, what, just over 2.5 tablespoons, or half of this. I'm going to start with this here and see what that does for me. I'm going to put this so you can kind of see. We only want the breadcrumbs damp. We don't want this soaked, and we don't want loose milk in the bottom. If you have loose milk in the bottom, you put too much milk in. You just want wet grains of sand kind of thing if you're using panko. It does need just a splash. You can always add more. You cannot take it out. And you don't want to add more breadcrumbs, because then your breadcrumb ratio gets off. That is what you're looking for. That's perfect right there. See that? It's just a little damp. Hopefully you can see this. I'm trying to do this in this camera here. All right, once you've done that, now mix it all together. Mix it all up. There is no ketchup in this. Don't put ketchup in your meatballs. Ketchup goes in meatloaf. We're not making meatloaf, we're making meatballs. Don't make me come over there and smack you. Put ketchup in your meatballs. You are not Italian. Yeah, if your grandmother, who was Italian, put ketchup in the meatballs, I hate to tell you, she was Hungarian. She lied. You're not Italian. You could also be Albanian, I don't know. But definitely not Italian. All right, that's it, that's our mush. That's our mush, see that right there? That's our mush. That's what you want. You can see the little bits of cheese kind of poking through here a little bit. This is a very, very big, chunky shredded cheese. So I did chop it a little bit so it's smaller. If you have big, long shards of Parmesan cheese, you can also put Romano in here. Stay away from anything too melty, but either one of those works pretty good. I can get rid of this, and this, and this. We'll clean it up real fast. We're gonna put the meat in. I'm gonna show you how to form the meatballs. Hold on. So here we are. Here's our mush. Here's our meat. This is a pound of 80/20 ground beef. Nothing fancy, nothing amazing. You can use thinner meat or leaner meat. This doesn't have to be 80/20. Feel free to use 90/10 or even leaner. That will work just fine. Okay, this is hands on. If you don't like the feeling of the meat sticking to your hands and the whole thing, wet your hands. Just run them under water real fast. For me, I don't care. So I'm gonna do this. Do not squish, do not mash, never do this. It is loose fingers. So I am pulling the meat apart so that it's loose. You can do this with a spoon if you want to, or a fork. Just kind of whisk a big wooden spoon or something like that if you want to. Hands work fantastic. You're gonna get your hands in here to mix them anyways. Might as well get started now. But if you wanted to use a spoon for this, you could. Do not mash, don't smash this. You want the meat fibers to be nice and lovely. Just keep tossing and moving and open fingers, mixing all of this until you get this to come together. You're gonna see the white specks in here. That's normal because you have a lot of stuff. Cheese and onions and things like that. Those are not going to blend in and disappear on you. And if you get anything up sides, just kind of work it in. This is pretty well mixed, so I'm gonna start bringing this together into one big meatball on the side of the bowl here. Pretty much. Okay, kind of squish this down a little bit, compact it in there a little bit. You want to kind of move the bits to the inside. When you get this That's one giant meatball. You pick up the little bits. There you go. One quick boop, 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 boop. You're ready to form some meatballs. Okay, now you've got dirty hands. Pinch off a bit. If you're making spaghetti or something like that, you want a meatball that's maybe about the size of a golf ball. Something like that, pretty much. Gently bringing this together so it's kind of round. 2 hands, roll. Now, you're feeling the thing tumbling inside and doing its thing. This is making it round because you're making strange, weird little gesture like this. You're not pushing. It is just rolling between your hands and your fingers. Meatball. That's it. Pinch off a bit. When you get good at this, when you get used to it, you know when you bring this together in your hand, it feels like the right amount. And if it doesn't, bring a little more in. Boom, we got it. So we just bring it in again, gently, just kind of sort of bringing it together, not squishing. Roll, 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 roll. Meatball. Pound of meat will make about a dozen to 14, 15 meatballs of roughly this size. If you're making a lot more meatballs, use a much bigger bowl or one of the big like foil serving tray sort of things. Those are great. I'm using this bowl here because it'll fill up this one side here and still leave me room to do this. So I've done this 1,000 times. I know what I'm doing. Oh, that one's coming apart a little bit. They do that. That one doesn't want to come to. What's the matter? What's the matter, Mr. Meatball? Oh, it's got a piece of cheese in it. What? It's got a big lump of cheese right there, so it doesn't want to come together. If that's the case, push the cheese in. Meatball. You get the idea. I will meet you back here in a second once these are done so you can see the rest. All right. Okay. Meatballs are done. My hands are still a mess, but there's your meatballs. This camera should have a pretty nice view. It looks a little tilty, funny, but you get the idea. I got 15 meatballs out of that. They're golf ball size. There you go. Now cooking these, I'm going to show you one way to do it. There is another way to do it. I'll go over that while I'm cooking them. But now I'm going to wash up and let's get to cooking because that's kind of important. So hold on. Start with a pan over medium-high heat and add oil. Now, it's important to put in about a tablespoon or 2 of oil, but here's the thing. Stop right here for half a second. Put the oil, stir the oil around, coat the pan with it. I did not do that, so there are bare spots that have no oil. Guess what happens when you put meatballs in a pan that has bare spots and no oil? It's about to stick. In 30 years, I've never had meatballs stick. I don't know how this I've made thousands of meatballs. Seriously. Never had them stick like that. So the only thing I can come up with is I didn't get the oil spread around the pan, and the pan was extremely hot. So they immediately seared and grabbed onto the bottom of the pan, and when I went to shake the pan, it was no bueno. So pan about 350, 370 tops, and put some oil in, and then swirl the oil around to coat the pan before you put the meatballs in. You will avoid that little mistake. There you go. We're just going to fry these, brown them up in the pan. Since we're only doing a pound, you can see we're not overcrowding the pan. We have plenty of room to work the meatballs. But yeah, let them sit for a minute, get a nice good brown spot, and then move them to a spot that isn't brown. And just keep rotating them around. This is not exactly difficult work. We've probably all made meatballs before. This is how meatballs are done if you're not doing them in the oven. You can bake these in the oven, and it's not a bad idea. If you're doing more than a pound of meatballs, doing them in the oven's a really great idea, putting them on baking sheets. The oven's about 400 degrees, and a meatball this size is only going to take about 15, maybe 17 minutes in the oven. But what we're going to do here is we're going to just brown them. They're still going to be pink in the middle. You can see they already got the brown spot on there. You're going to flip them probably 6 times to get all of the surface brown. But then we're going to braise them in tomato sauce. Since these are going to be spaghetti and meatballs, well, these are kind of the perfect size for spaghetti and meatballs. We're going to braise them in the sauce for about 45 minutes to an hour. They're going to finish cooking there. They're going to pick up flavors from the sauce. They're going to give off flavors into the sauce. And it's going to be delicious. That is one of the secrets, is braising the meatballs in the tomato sauce. It makes them super, super yummy. As you can see, my troubles with the meatballs is far from over. Once they start to tear, it's like one of them gets the idea and they're like, rebellion, we see freedom, and they just start coming apart. So don't let the first meatball crack and then you'll be okay. But once they do, they kind of get to be a pain. Although I've never really had it. There's some curse of the camera. I swear to God, things I've done 1,000 times. As soon as I turn the camera on, it's like my brain shuts off or something, and I don't know how I managed to do something so stupid. But I'm learning. I'm getting better. But yeah, just coat the pan. Don't let it get scorching hot. Don't get sidetracked with trying to set up a camera angle and stuff. And your meatballs should turn out perfect. It's more about what's inside the meatball. You can't screw this up too badly at this point once you've got the right ingredients inside of it. Just don't burn them and don't undercook them. So those little pink spots, when they sit for a minute or so, flip it onto a pink spot until there's no more pink spots, and then transfer it to your sauce. As the meatballs cook, you can see they start giving off a little bit of juice, and they will start to spit a little bit and start to make a little bit of a mess. Again, you're medium, a little more than medium heat. I like to cover it with a splatter cover. This is an old one that was made by Paul Revere, apparently. You can use one of the modern vented ones for cooking bacon and that sort of thing. But just cover them like that. It keeps it from splattering. It also keeps some heat in and helps cook them just a little bit more. Once you put the cover on like this, you're really only going to cook them another 2 or 3 minutes tops before they go into the sauce. After the meatballs have sat there for a little bit, they are nicely browned, as you can see here. Just mix them around, finding these spots. There's a couple little spots here and there. And you don't really want to overcook these. So you do have to be somewhat careful. You're not going to get every inch of the meatball completely browned. And that's okay. They'll be just fine. The majority of it is browned. It's good enough. If you want to be really, really fastidious or anal, as I'm being here, use the tongs, tip them up on a side, but they're ready to go take their bath in the sauce pretty much. So I've got tomato sauce sitting off to the side. Unfortunately, I'm the only cameraman, and I set the camera angle up here with the GoPro to show you the frying pan. I did not get the pot with the sauce in it, so you're about to miss me dropping these in the sauce. Try not to get grease in there. That's kind of important. Let them drain a little bit. This is a slotted spatula, as you see. Just be careful not to get too much grease and float them in the sauce. Now when they're in the sauce, you're going to just simmer this for about 45 minutes to finish the cooking. That's going to give the flavors off into the sauce and the sauce into the meatballs. And when that's done, you're done. It's ready to eat and enjoy. Manja. And here is the final product. After you've done all that hard work, it's not really hard. You've made a little pasta, you've got your sauce, and now you've got the most amazing meatballs to go with it. If you want to impress your friends, if you want to make your family love you, if you want to feel important in life, you need to make these meatballs because they really are that amazing. I don't know if the picture depicts it well enough, but that is the juiciest, most amazing meatball you're ever going to have. And I thank you for watching. And we'll see you on the next one.